The truth about you can't be controlled. And the key to getting the life that you want and changing the world has everything to do with remembering who you are as a wild soul. You don't want safety, you want adventure. God doesn't live in what you know. God lives in who you are and in how you feel. I want you to have a wild life beyond your wildest dreams. The name of the game is getting out of the way. The name of the game is finding something that we can do that shows the world what love looks like. You can do that. Everything else tends to work out. To the degree that we get out of the way, things tend to work out. Talking about engaging with something, but it's kind of funny to say that because I'm talking to you. You showed up here. I mean, with one exception, no one was brought up in this church. With one exception. Everybody came here from someplace else. Seekers from all over the place have showed up here at the very beginning of an important journey. We're building this church together, and I'm so grateful to be on that journey. I'm grateful for that moment that I have seen over and over again, and I know I will see over and over again. When somebody comes to me and says, I felt this way my whole life, and I didn't know there was a number of people who were just as weird as I was. I felt this way my whole life, and I didn't know it was okay to talk about it on Sunday morning. I felt this way my whole life, and here we are. So I want to say to you, welcome home. But I want to say how grateful I am that I see that kind of eagerness in your eyes. It has been my opportunity, my privilege, my blessing to get to speak to church congregations all over the place for most of my life. And a lot of times when you go to church, I don't know if everybody in the room has gotten to see it from my point of view. It's kind of cool to get to be up here. Maybe you've only seen it from that point of view, and that's okay too. But from my point of view, sometimes in church, in fact, guys, a lot of times in church, not this church, but a lot of times in a lot of churches, what I see is, is it brunch yet? Now, I love brunch. It's very important. I was thinking about joining a Benedictine order until I found out it wasn't just about Eggs Benedict. I love that. But I really love the idea if this is going to work, we need to be engaged. The name of the game, the secret word today is engage. This is going to come up again and again. If you want to solve a problem, find a way to engage. That's how all of this works. And this is something that I've said before. Church should feel less like a steam bath. That kind of, this is comforting, this is soothing. I want you to be comforted and soothed, but church should feel less like a steam bath and more like, those movies where there's people and they're all getting ready to jump out of an airplane together? And that feeling of, okay, here we go. They're about to open the door. Something's going to happen. Let's do this. Here we go. That feeling of everybody supporting each other, but not just to stay validated, but rather to be challenged. And that's the deal. Do you come to church to be validated, or do you come to church to be challenged? Your answer to that question is 100% going to determine what you get out of this experience. That's how this works. But it's something that you already know. I can see it in your eyes. And I can see in your eyes that you already know a very important teaching. But I'm going to say it anyway. Here you go. You ready? There is no merit badge for suffering. There is no merit badge for suffering. I need you to know that even if you already know it, let's really know it. Let's double know it. There is no merit badge for suffering because you and I know, and I won't put this on you, but I have been the kind of person who thought, if I was miserable enough, somehow I would earn the right to be happy at some point. And if I could out-misery somebody else in a conversation, your leg, my arm, my eye, my thing, my life, my job, my relationship, I win. But I lose. But I win. That moment. We know people who have been like that. But it doesn't make any sense. One of the things that we say over and over again is that everything is practice. And no, it feels that way sometimes. Everything is practice. Every moment makes you better at whatever it is that you're doing right now. So ask yourself, this thing that I'm doing, do I want to get good at it? Some people think if I practice misery, I'll get good at happiness, but that doesn't make sense. That's like saying, I'm going to practice skiing so that I can get good at climbing a mountain. I'm going to practice dancing so that I can get good at architecture. No more practicing misery. But like I said, everybody knows that, and we also know that because one of the things we talk about a lot is if it was about suffering, Jesus wouldn't have shown up. But he did show up. He didn't tell people to stay miserable. He helped. And he didn't just help. I mean, think about that with me. It's not just a matter of getting over the problem. It's not just a matter of the healing, although the healing happened. It's not just a matter of feeding the multitudes, although they got fed. It's not just a matter of paying the bills, although the bills got paid. It's always a matter of the next thing. Jesus' ministry, and by extension, the point of church, is not to get us to a place of okayness. We're not here to achieve equilibrium. This is important. Because for some people, the church experience is, oh, can I just get to a place of okay? Think about what you know about Jesus. Think about what you know about every hero. Did they ever go, you know what, we're good? It was always, okay, you got the healing, you can walk, now let's run. You can do this thing, now let's go change the world with what you know. It's always the next thing. And you know what, even if you're not up on your Gospels, you know this from just looking at the natural world. That's the way things go. Acorns aren't interested in equilibrium. They're interested in incredible growth. It's the truth about you and me. We are here to keep growing, to keep going. Life is a revolution. Yeah. That's how this works. And in fact, every moment of your life where there is friction, it's because that explosive, revolutionary, awesome, beautiful growth is trying to happen, and there's somebody trying to hold still. That's where friction comes from. Ask yourself, what am I practicing? There are some people who feel that friction and decide that they need to escape. There are whole churches designed around the idea of escape. I'm going to get away, I'm going to go to heaven or nirvana or whatever. We've talked about that. There are whole lives dedicated to the concept of getting away. It's always some other horizon, some different job. They have a bumper sticker on their car that says, I'd rather be sailing, and maybe they have a bumper sticker on their boat that says, I'd rather be stuck in traffic. I don't know. But it's always the idea of somewhere else. And I work this job until I can get a better job, and I'm with this person until I find the right person, and yuck, all of that stuff. Oh, this channel, there's a commercial. What's on the other channel? There are people who live lives based on escape, and I understand that because sometimes life gets tricky, but I got to tell you, life doesn't get less tricky if we're trying to get away. It's hard to make things better if we got one foot out the door. You know what I mean? The answer always is engage. The answer always is show up. But you know that because you came from someplace else. I mean, my Latin is a little rusty, but I'm pretty sure the Florida State motto is, none of us are from here. We come from someplace else. And if you've spent any time around a 12-step group, you've heard the phrase, there's no geographical cure. The idea being that wherever you go, there you are. Yeah, man, everywhere you go, you've got your stuff, your consciousness, your heart thing. And so if you switch out to a different job, you'll still have the same fights with your boss until you change. Switch out of the relationship, switch out of the school situation, switch out of the whatever it is, until something happens in me, until I engage. Don't fight, engage. Don't rally against it, engage. Don't escape, engage. If you're having trouble, find a way to channel your inner Captain Picard and engage. You can tell who the nerds in the room are. Mostly just my wife and me, and that's okay. Engage. I didn't say fight. I said engage. I didn't say conquer, I said engage. And this is a really important thing because there are those people who say, all right, I'm going to show up for my life. But for them, the pendulum swings all the way to the other side. And they say, not only am I going to show up, but I'm going to just whip everything into shape. I'm going to conquer. I'm going to make it mine. I'm going to impose my will upon the world. And we know, boys and girls, that some pretty rotten things have been done in the name of religious conquest. Yuck. You know people who think the name of the game of life is to bless you, is to conquer everything. The name of the game of life is to bless you as well. But the name of the game of life is to conquer everything, to whip it into shape. You know those people. Don't travel with those people because if you end up on a desert island, they will eat you. I know. There's that part of the Bible where it says that we are given dominion over everything. I've read that part too. But maybe it doesn't mean what we think it means. My babies aren't babies anymore. They're grown up now. But when they were small, from time to time, we would get a babysitter. Every once in a while, we would go to the movies or something. If you babysit my babies, I expect you to have dominion. I do not expect you to eat my children. Maybe dominion doesn't mean that. Maybe dominion means care. Maybe dominion means service. Maybe dominion means empowerment. Maybe we are here to serve. That's why the heroes in the Bible tend to be shepherds, taking care. That's why we're here. Ask yourself, why am I here in this life? And nobody knows everything, but just a little piece of what you know. Why am I here? There are those people who say, well, I'm a fixer. That's why I'm here. I'm here to fix things. And that sounds pretty good, but you know what? If you're a fixer, doesn't it mean that you need broken stuff in order to exist? I've been a fixer, and I kept drawing problems to myself. I've heard people in the Unity and New Thought world say, well, I'm a manifester. I think that's great. Everybody is. If I think a thought, stuff happens in my life. Everybody has that experience. It is the natural byproduct of existence. It's a little like saying, I'm a good breather. Great. And why are you here? It turns out it's not complicated at all. It turns out you're here to be here. You're here to show up. You're here to engage. That's what love looks like. Among other things, love is the power that shows up, that is not fooled by appearances, that looks past the way things are. That's what love does. When you love somebody, you look past the way things are on the outside. And you know that, but I'm repeating it. When you love somebody, you are not fooled by appearances. And this is really important because a lot of very well-meaning people can look upon the life of someone else and say, if I were them, I wouldn't be in that kind of trouble. If I were them, I wouldn't have made those decisions. If I were them, well, you know what? If you were them, you'd be doing exactly what they did because you'd be them. That's how that works. Oh, no, I mean, if I still had my thoughts and feelings, but I was in their situation. Oh, so in other words, you're saying, if I had their outfit on, if I had their job, but I was still me. Well, you and I know that the outer stuff, the relationship, the job, the possessions, or lack thereof, is an outpicturing, a byproduct of what we have going on the inside. You can't Freaky Friday into somebody else's life and expect to have all the answers because they've drawn that to them, you're drawing your stuff to you. And you know that because you've seen the shows about how somebody won the lottery and magically it didn't make them a better person. You know that because you got to some outer milestone and still had inner stuff to do. We all have. And that knowing, the knowing that inner stuff is where the world gets changed, is the reason why around here we're not very interested in conversion. Unless you're trying to move from VCR to DVD. We're not really interested in conversion because we know that I can change everything about your outer, but until something happens in the inner, until there's an agreement, a conversation, a decision that only you can make, that I can't force upon you and I wouldn't wanna, nothing's really gonna change. So if we're gonna do this thing, build this church, change this world, change our lives, revolutionize the workplace or the relationship or the school or the fill in the blank, If we're going to do this thing, our model can't be conversion anymore. It has to be inspiration. We're not here to make converts. We're here to inspire something. And ask yourself, how do you inspire? The best way to inspire is to get inspired. Find something. Find something that inspires you. Find something that moves you. Become someone who's hungry to be moved. Become someone who's hungry to be inspired about something. Become somebody who's interested in falling in love with this thing called life. There's something amazing that happens when we do that. The amazing thing that happens is we get out of the way. Pretty cool. When we get out of the way. No more talking about what love is. Show me what love looks like. No more talking about what healing might be. Find a way to be a healing force in your life. No more talking. Let us get into that Missouri show me state of consciousness. Show me. But like I said, that process takes getting out of the way. Let's be okay with the idea that maybe I don't need more of my ideas and more of my stuff. Maybe God's got a better idea. Can you be okay with that? That's where change happens. We look in the Bible, flip to the back. Paul says, if you want this stuff to work, have this mind in you that was in Christ Jesus. Okay, Paul, cryptic, what does that mean? So, okay, I got to think like Jesus did, whatever. How does that work? So I flip forward a little bit, and Jesus says, not my will, but thine be done. He says, they who have seen me have seen the Father. In other words, I am out of the way of this, and God is shining through. He says, those who do the will of God are my brother and my sister and my mother. In other words, not my stuff, God's stuff. Oh. So it doesn't mean bending the world to my ego? Really? Come on, I've been really good at that. I mean, a lot of people think that success means getting everybody to do it your way. A lot of people think once I win the lottery, everybody's going to do things my way. A lot of people think if I get to the top of the corporate ladder, I can be the boss, and everybody's just going to say yes to whatever I want. That's not success. The word you're looking for is jerk. Because we know those people, or we know of those people, and they're not anybody you want to be around. And that's not what success looks like. Let me tell you a success story. When we did the volunteer work for Habitat for Humanity, there was a guy there. He was our foreman. His name was Daniel. Good name. And Daniel may be the most patient man in the world because he put up with us. But he does this all the time, and he puts up with people using the wrong tool for the wrong job and getting more drywall mud on than they're scraping off, and I set fire to everything, whatever it was. And Daniel sweetly, wonderfully, beautifully just fixed it, answered our questions, was just such this wonderful, serene presence. And we'd been working for a couple of hours in the cold and just trying to figure it out and starting to get into a groove. And Daniel said, we're going to take a break now, and I want to talk to you. And Daniel answered some questions about Habitat, how Habitat works, and nobody gets a free house. Everybody works for it and pays for it, and all of that stuff. I didn't know that stuff. I just wanted to know if I could meet Jimmy Carter. It didn't work out. But he answered some of the questions. And then he said, I want you to know that I know about this because I'm a resident. I live in a Habitat house. Whew, okay, different. Wasn't expecting that. And he said, my story is that my wife and I, we got 5 kids. We live in a tiny little apartment, or we did. Tiny little place, but we made it work. We got bunk beds in all the rooms. We just made it work. It was okay. I'm from New York, and that's what you do. It's no big deal. But our baby was diagnosed with a heart condition, and one of us had to quit their job to be there for that, so I did. And we just, that's what you do. You make it work. But then the landlord said, you've got too many people living in this little place. You can't be here anymore. You're out. And with only one income and all those mouths to feed, I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to just make it work. And they found out about Habitat. And part of the process of Habitat for Humanity is to be eligible, you've got to do 350 hours of volunteer service. Daniel did 900. And at the end of that process, on the day when they gave him the keys to his house, They also offered him a job. Everything changed. That is a success story. So you want the blueprint for happiness, success, victory? You want to make it work? It has to do with three things. Find something important. Doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter if I think it's important. It doesn't matter if your family understands it. In fact, they probably won't if it's that important. Find something important and give yourself to it and let it change you. Those are the steps. Find something important. Give yourself to it 900 hours when 350 is asked for, and let it change you. Let it open a new door for you, and everything else will work out. I promise this is how success works. It turns out it has zero to do with imposing our ego on the world and everything to do with letting it change us. In the Bible, Jacob wrestled with the angel. And he wrestled with the angel. And he wrestled with the angel. I want you to know that it's okay to wrestle with your higher purpose, with your calling, with your life working. Everybody's wrestling with something. It's okay. It's heroic. But Daniel, Daniel was our foreman, but let's talk about Jacob instead. Jacob was smart enough to hang on. The Bible says that he said, I will not let you go until you bless me. That is noble. Not, I know all the answers and it's going to be okay because I've read chapter 5 of this book. Just hang on. That's all you got to do. I will not let you go until you bless me. And he hung on, and he hung on, and he hung on, and he won. Well, what did he win, Vanna? I mean, think about it. Depending on the movies that you like to watch, it might be that you would expect that the victory means you get to run everything. But if you know your Bible, you know that because he won, the angel said, we're going to give you a new name. We're going to give you a new life. We're going to give you a new situation, a new outlook. In other words, victory means not changing the world. Victory means you get changed and the world changes as a result. Are you okay with changing? Because you know what? It's okay to have hopes and dreams. I got loads of them. You should. But let's be the kind of people who can write down everything, and the to-do list, and the goals, and the 5-year plan, and the stuff, and the day runner full of things, and the Google spreadsheet of everything. And can you take all of that stuff, and can you take it to God and go, here, this is my best. This is what I think. This is what my heart tells me. Here's all of my me now. I know you know better. What can you do? And more specifically, what can I do that's a good idea for God? Get your stuff together and give it over and watch what happens. Be interested in change and growth. And I tell you that, but you know that too. Because I'm pretty sure everybody in this room has at one time or another been a child. Kids know about this. Kids are interested in change. Remember how it felt when your height was a little bit more on the wall and somebody marked it with a pencil? Remember how it felt when you tied your shoes? Remember how it felt when you said, I can do this new thing that I couldn't do before? Being childlike, just like Jesus talks about, as key to everything, has to do with being open to change. And one other thing, be open to change and in fact hungry about change, and also be willing to share it. That is the twofold path. Because the mantra of every child is this: hey, look at me. Look at me, I can run faster. Look at me, I'm taller. Look at me, I'm not 7.5 anymore. I'm 8 years old. Look at me, I can reach the cookie jar. Sorry, Mom. Look at me. In other words, I'm here to share this new me. And tomorrow I will be new again. That's your job. You want to change the world? It's okay to get mad sometimes. I watch the news too. But do something about it that changes you. We're not here to fight anymore. We're not even here to fix anymore. We're here to be children. Children grow. Find a way to fall in love with something so much so that you have to speak up, that you have to do something, and that it has the room to make you different than you ever thought you could be. If you do that, nothing can hurt you. You get free, and you deserve freedom, and the world gets free. Because, after all, freedom is a choice. Thank you very much.